Today on TLC Live, the first show of 2023, Mano DeAyala, Texas State Representative District 133, he will assume office on January 10. And Jeronimo Cortina, University of Houston of Political Science professor who will talk about the Texas Legislature Session 2023. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to TLC Live, the first show of 2023. Happy New Year to everybody. Happy New Year, Orlando Sanchez.
Happy New Year to you. How was your holiday?
Oh my God, it was so much fun. I stay here. Normally I go out of the country to visit my brother, but this year we decided to stay because my two kids, my twins, are about to go to college this year. So we decided to spend the last holidays at home.
Well, good for you.
Yeah. So we were having a lot of fun. It's just family, my parents, a lot of friends, Colombian party. So we had a lot of fun. I mean, if you are being in a Latino New Year party, you know that it's a lot of fun, a lot of food, a lot of drinks, and we were having fun.
I guess it would be inappropriate to ask how much weight was gained.
No, it's okay. I gained 5 pounds, and it started yesterday. Today, no. It started on Monday. I started what do they call it? Dry January.
Well, yeah, abstinence, dry January.
Exact, dry
whatever.
January. So no alcohol, no carbs.
Well, good. I'll see you in February. You're going to be quite boring.
Well, I'll see you only every Wednesday at the show.
I mean, what's life without a little glass
Those
of
are
wine?
my kids say, like, oh my God, you're going to be boring, Mom.
All right. Well, look, Happy New Year, everybody. We hope that everybody had a great New Year. A lot of exciting things are happening. I know I've read a couple articles that, the red wave didn't happen, and that's probably true. The red wave didn't happen, but there was some good incremental movements for conservatives in this country that we're excited about. But what I'm excited about is that our mission is to get more Hispanics involved in the political process, number one. Number two, of course, is to educate and encourage Hispanics to give us a look. We know that there is two parties, mostly in this country, the red team, the blue team, Democrats, Republicans. Obviously, I've played on the Republican side for a long, long time, and so we all pull for our team. I'm pulling for the conservative values and the Republicans, but we want more participation. And Hispanics did very well, Andrea, in many, many positions across the state of Texas. Mm-hmm. We reelected John Lujan in House District 118, which has typically been a very high Hispanic turnout area in South San Antonio, but it has been a Democrat district. We elected a conservative Republican. John is not a wacko right-winger, but a good, solid family man, a businessman, and cares about his community. We re-elected the gentleman's name in South Texas that switched from Democratic Party to the Republican Party. What was his name? Mano's on hand. Mano, jump in. Who's your colleague that switched?
Every time you put that to me, I'm always going to draw the blank.
Okay.
I know exactly.
Yeah, because he was focused on his own.
Yeah. I know who you're talking about, but every time that you ask, like everybody goes
goes blank.
Yeah.
Maybe Dr. Cortina, who switched from Democrat to Republican in South Texas State House of Representatives. My God,
yes.
With a G.
know exactly.
Yeah. Okay, it'll come to us. It'll come to us. And then we elected Mano DeAyala, son of Cubans. Which now we're starting to get
a happy New Year. What a way to start the new year.
Too many Colombians, too many Cubans in government. We need the Mexicans to step up.
No. Mexicans they're being doing really, really good because they're the majority in the Hispanic community around the country.
Of course.
So, but it's good to see. I remember when I came to this country in 1997, and now I'm sounding like you. In 1997, when I came to this country, I remember that the majority of the Latino community, it was Mexican. And I remember when I started on the news that I came, coming from my country, and I have this accent and the Spanish in Colombiano, and they were telling me, well, you need to start like talking more plain because our viewers are the majority are Mexican. So I start working on that, and these days, I mean, if you don't know me, you think I mean, it's like she's Mexican. She's from where? She's South
Well,
American.
that's exactly right. I took my mother to Cuba 18 years ago, and I was in Cuba near the old Hilton Hotel, Havana Hilton. And a guy says, "Where are you from?" I said, "I was born in Havana." He goes, "You're not Cuban."
I
And so,
know.
yeah, it happens that, we have the South Texas influence on our language. But anyway, we did very well in South Texas. We picked up a congressional seat. Monica de la Cruz is now a congresswoman, along with Tony Gonzalez in South Texas. We came we did extremely well in Congressional District 34 with Mayra Flores. She outperformed the district. I mean, there was most of us that understand politics know that when you're in a district that has a 14% advantage for the Democrat, that you're not going to do that well. Maida came within 7 points.
Yep.
And she's going to stay active in South Texas, and a lot of good things are happening in South Texas. So we're excited, and we have two great guests. Obviously, our new state representative. I think you're still state rep elect, right?
Elect.
You're not. You haven't been sworn in yet. That's coming up,
No.
right?
Yeah, he started on
Sworn in
January
on-
10th.
Sworn in on January 10th. So far, just being sworn at.
And yeah, you're sworn at, and I understand you're going to have your own party. You're going to outdo the governor and the lieutenant governor. I've heard that you've rented out a big theater at the University of Texas. You're going to have a Cuban band with lechon, and no, I'm not.
You're exaggerating.
He's like a
But speaking of lechon, so I get my lechon, my Nochebuena, Christmas Eve, at Piquet Cafe every year. And every time I go, I see the picture of your father, Orlando, on the wall, and I take a selfie.
Yes,
And so I still have it on my
the Wall
phone.
of Fame.
yes, he does.
It is.
Well,
Well,
look,
Mano, tell us about, I mean, we are around the corner of you
Yes.
taking this position. Last year, it was like a marathon. I remember seeing you every corner with your signs and running around and a fundraiser and events. And this is like a very exciting year for the the District 133, for the Latino community, for Texas, and tell us about what is going to be the first thing. I mean, we have the Texas legislature also coming up as soon as you take office. So tell us all about it.
Well, let me kind of start from the beginning. And this campaign, when it's your really first campaign, you don't know what to expect. Ours was a very intense, had a lot of good candidates, 5 in the primary, a runoff, and a general election with not only a Democrat but a Libertarian candidate there. So it was a full gamut from start to finish, and it's a very special district. This West Houston district is just a very special place in Houston. It's where I spent most of my life since the 2nd grade. That is, so it's wonderful. The campaign, I'm glad to be over, but yes, you're right. It was a very intense, hard-fought battle. And this district decided to give me a shot to be our state representative, and I'm grateful, thankful, and look forward to now the work ahead, starting in just a few days. So,
all right, and so you'll be joining the young man that switched from the Democratic Party to the Republican Party, Ryan Guillen. Get to know
Ryan
him very
Guillen.
well.
Right.
Ryan,
Ryan, that people thought that Ryan was going to get his rear end kicked, and he won by a huge margin. The community in South Texas supported Ryan in spite of the fact that he switched parties and became a Republican. So good things are happening, for the Republican Party. But this is where the rubber meets the road, right, Mano? This is the time that the state legislature has to work for the people of the state of Texas.
amen.
Talking about tax reduction, property tax reduction, and not getting it accomplished doesn't move the ball forward. Talking about, things that should be done but aren't getting done doesn't move the ball forward. And I submit to you, and you know this, and we're going to talk about it, because education is going to play a huge role in the state of Texas, as it always does. We need to improve the quality of public education in the state of Texas. We've got some challenges. We have an example. You live in a city that has several failing schools in one of the largest school districts in the United States, which is Houston Independent School District. We've had these failing schools that are failing the parents, the children, the community, and they continue to operate in spite of the fact that an African American Democrat legislator wrote a bill that says that if these schools continue to fail, they should be taken over by the education agency. Well, the HISD has gone to court, has sued the state of Texas and the commissioner, and we still have the taxpayers funding failing schools. What are we going to do about that, Mano?
Well, that is a little bit of a loaded question because it requires a longer answer. Everyone likes simple solutions. But the reality is to improve education in this state, and in any state for that matter, we need like in our businesses, free markets, we need competition, we need choice. We need to give parents the power to choose where their kids and what's best for them and their families. And the state is moving towards in that direction. We have with our charter schools and our other choice opportunities. And I think this session we're going to take the next step in that direction. I think rising tide, it just helps everybody, right? And I think that's where we're going to see the biggest gains in our public school system is empowering the parents to find the best solutions for their families and their children. That's the short answer. The longer answer, we need to work on funding solutions to the current funding problems we're having now to then better fund these choice options. So
let me go back though, because first of all, there's nothing worse you can do to a community is to tax them through the roof, no pun intended, which that the school taxes are the largest tax that we pay.
Correct.
And then have members of the school board thrown into the federal penitentiary for rigging contracts, for stealing tens of millions of dollars from the public. We continue to fund these failing schools. And let me just be critical. I mean, you're about to be a state representative. We've had a quarter century of Republican leadership, and you got Dallas, and you got Houston, and you got major school districts that are failures. What are we going to do as conservatives to provide every child an equal opportunity to compete in the free market and have a chance, regardless of the color of their skin and regardless of their parents' economic condition? That's critical to me. It's one of the biggest issues facing us.
I'm going to take the last part of that first. And the last part of that is, we have this session, something that people are already telling me is a blessing and a curse, and that is we have a significant surplus. Why we have that surplus in our budget is due to really inflation for more than anything else. It's inflation, and all this money put in as stimulus requires more goods and services to be bought, more sales tax revenue. So we have a surplus right now, and larger than I think we've ever had in the history of the state. The good news about the legislature is we are required to have a balanced budget, and we can't spend more than we did last session, except for taking into account population growth and some inflationary function there too. So that's all we can do to spend more money without super majorities. What great protections we have in the state to be fiscally responsible relative to our friends in DC that don't have those requirements, and they spend a little bit more frivolously. So starting with that structure, we can create a lot of property tax reform in property tax burdens, reducing those property tax burdens. That's what the legislature's focused on this session, is making sure we do that. And the focus on that is going to be on the school piece, which is the largest piece, as you said, of the tax burden. So that's in the works, and those bills are in place to continue to do that. Now, we keep saying it's big and it's high. It'd be even bigger and it'd be even higher if it wasn't for Republican leaders in the state Senate and House that have done reductions of that over the past two cycles at least. So It'd be even worse than it is right now if it wasn't for Republican leadership making sure that the growth of property tax uh, was reduced considerably.
Well,
So now to the
I'm
education piece,
go
the
ahead.
education piece, which I think you're talking about, and that is, look, we have a system where, um, a school district that is failing, there are remedies, and the state can come in and take oversight, and in some instances control of those school districts. The laws are in place. They're there to do that. Can we do more? I'd absolutely look at doing that for the most failing and egregious and those school districts you pointed out that have a criminality to them. There's a difference between passing laws and enforcing laws. We need to enforce the laws that we've already passed first and foremost before thinking of any laws, any new laws. So that's the first thing. We can write laws that don't get enforced, and that doesn't do anybody any good except, you break your arm patting yourself on the back. But again, the future of Texas and the future of, what is this miracle that is the state of Texas, this wonderful place and wonderful, um, people where people are flocking to from across the country and actually other countries, as we know, um, is is the fact that we have opportunity and promise. And the only way we're going to continue to have that opportunity and promise for Texans is to make sure that we educate our children as best as humanly possible. And the best way to do that is by having the power in the parents' hands to choose where they want their children to be educated. Not that they're a geographic prisoner in a certain school district because of a certain economic condition, but to have that choice. And the state is at least the what we've been doing the past few sessions, and what the discussion is going forward is to increase that choice considerably. That's a huge thing, and I think the best thing we can do for the next generation of Texans.
Mano, what do you think is going to be the biggest challenge that you're going to face in your new position?
So I'm coming in as a freshman, but I'm not coming in as a 30-year-old freshman. I'm coming in as a freshman that's had a lot of community involvement, a lot of professional experiences in business and law and in the law, and having worked with the legislature. So I come in with an experience level that, yes, as a freshman, it's hard to start from zero and get a lot of things done first session. But I am hopeful to be one of those people that are in the room trying to solve the hard stuff, the complicated stuff, and most of that is economic, the funding of schools and those sorts of things. But I think the biggest challenge is with this surplus. Again, this is a unique situation. We have a surplus of 30, maybe more $billion. We've never seen that. And the reason it's somewhat of a curse is when people come into the state house and say, I've got this great idea. Well, if we don't have the money for a new idea, we don't have the money for a new idea. It's easy to say no. But when you have this surplus, which may never repeat itself, we don't want to start to spend on things that we can't spend next cycle or next cycle or next cycle. So we want to be sure that we're very fiscally prudent, conservative, and phenomenal stewards of these resources. Whatever these resources are, we have 1,000 people coming into the state every day. We need, make sure we have roads, broadband. Broadband is the equalizer for a lot of folks. We talk about, as conservatives, we want to have equal opportunity for everybody, not equal outcomes. Well, broadband is now in that opportunity part of the bucket because it is now necessary for education. It's necessary for just a lot of things that we need, no matter what your socioeconomic status is. It's important to have broadband. So we need to focus on that sort of infrastructure that will, again, be the tide that lifts all boats. So that's just an example. That's what we have to do and be prudent in this legislature, in this in the 88th is to make sure that we're fiscally prudent, and with the surplus we got to have consensus. We got to have supermajorities to do some of these things, and I think that's going to be the difficult thing. We got to give significant property tax reduction. So
Mano, you're gonna be the voice and the representation of your district by along Texas. What we can tell the community on your district, how they can the input of them, how important is for you, how are you gonna be the communication that, or the engagement between you and your community, because that's where you're gonna be representing over there in Austin.
And by the way, before you answer that, I may be wrong, but because I haven't really looked at the demographics of all the districts, but your district is becoming quite diverse, is it not? I mean, I think you have quite an immigrant community from like Venezuela and Colombian.
Right.
I know there's several Cubans, and even very successful business people of Mexican descent have moved into your House district. Talk to us a little bit about the demographics of the district.
So yes, 133 is very diverse, and just generally, Highway 6 to basically Chimney Rock, I-10 to Westheimer is that area. And yes, I knocked on thousands of doors, and I tell you, when I knocked on a door and I noticed that that family or that person was from Venezuela, those conversations lasted a lot longer than your typical conversations, because we had so much in common. With respect to the Cuban experience and the Venezuelan experience. So there's just a whole lot of patriotism from that immigrant. Many of them are in the last several years, and there's just a hell of a lot of love of country, a lot of conservative principles and values. It's inspiring. I jokingly tell people that Venezuelans moving into Harris County are going to do more to promote conservative principles than probably any other group. I may be wrong, and we have a guest here that's going to probably prove me wrong. But yeah, so it's a diverse district. It's not a Latino majority district like some other districts are, but it is a widely diverse district.
Well, I'm sure LULAC is watching the fact that House District 133, which is not a majority Hispanic district, has elected a Hispanic, which is probably going to fly right in the face of their lawsuit.
It's changing. I mean, Texas is changing, and the whole country is changing. And as our community is growing, and as Mano was saying, Venezuelans. I mean, when we used to see Venezuelans in this area, mostly Katy and other areas. But back to my question, Mano, the communications with your community is very important, because you're going to be the voice and the representation over there in Austin. So how our community can engage with you and tell them what they need, what is their issues, what is their concerns?
So we have during session, I will be spending the vast majority of my time in Austin. I will be coming back most every weekend and engaging in whatever groups I need to engage in. I will have district staff here in the district, making sure that we are at the super neighborhoods and the HOA meetings and the different groups and community interests that are important in the district. Our district has a lot of things that we need to focus on. So a lot of what I've talked about already are kind of statewide issues, but district specific issues. We have real big draining problems. I mean, this is Buffalo Bayou. This is the core, the center of the damage that Harvey created. We have a lot of drainage issues we got to deal with here in our district. And we've got to work, collaboratively with the federal government, with the county, and with the state to get this stuff done. So there's a lot of stuff, whether it's that, whether it's property tax relief, whether it's specific education and what we call Robin Hood, recapture in our school districts. I mean, Spring Branch Independent School District is
donor district
scheduled to have to make and give to the state a donor district of well over 70 million, maybe over $80 million to the district. Those are things we have to deal with.
We should change it to Robber Hood.
So
Robber Hood. Mano, your video is freezing up. I think that your lovely, handsome face has overloaded the broadband capacity of your of your Wi-Fi. So look, Happy New Year, buddy. Congratulations. We're proud of you. We're going to keep an eye on you because just because you're our friend, we're not going to cut you any slack. We're going to treat you with the same respect we treated Mr. Bohack and all our friends in the legislature. We're going to keep an eye on you. You know, education's important to me. Given the majority of minority in Harris County, I think it's important that those, but regardless if they're African American, Venezuelans, Cubans, Colombians, Mexicans, it doesn't matter what corner of the earth they're from, what their socioeconomic status is. Education is the most important issue facing these young people. And I know that you believe that too, but we're going to keep an eye on you. So anyway, thank you for joining us. Thank you for taking the moment. And we may call on you during the session to give us an update about what's going on.
Mano, gracias y feliz año. Suerte.
Let me leave you with one. Thank you. Let me leave you with one thought real quick before I go. I don't know if I speak for most legislatures, but I speak for myself and many others, and that is we want to hear from folks what matter to them. So please reach out, and that's how we sharpen our swords is knowing what we need to be working on. So thank you all for that.
Thank you, Mano. Yeah. Congratulations.
All right. So Mano has a website, or if you want to go to his website, and that's the way to get in touch with him. And of course, as he started in office, I believe he's going to have different contact information. So we're going to have him later in the year to have an update with him.
Now let's go to the campus of my alma mater.
Oh, yeah. Well, you introduced
the University of Houston, Professor Cortina.
Have the honor.
Yeah. So, Professor, I see you're back on screen. I saw you step away. You're probably going through your footnotes of your next publication, which we look forward to. But anyway, thank you for joining us. And, you know, I don't know if you caught that comment, but I told Mano, I said LULAC might be interested in knowing that a Hispanic by the name of Mano DeAyala was elected in a majority, Caucasian district, which is, let's talk a little bit about the lawsuit. LULAC wants to sue the city of Houston to eliminate the at-large positions, excluding mayor and controller. These are the city council positions because they feel that enough Hispanics aren't being elected. But before the show, Professor, I told you that back in my day in 1995, when I was elected city council member, we had a huge number of Hispanics, including at large, the controller, Gracie Saenz, Orlando Sanchez, Gabriel Vasquez. We were all serving at large positions. We were getting elected. What's happened in our city? And we've even, as the city council has expanded because of the population, as you know, the city charter says we need to grow the district position. So we've created 2 new districts that were Hispanic opportunity districts, and we failed to elect Hispanics. So what good is this lawsuit going to do for the Latino community?
Well, I think that, first of all, there is, hundreds of thousands of pages doing research in terms of how majority districts or single member districts versus at large districts depress political participation, especially when we're talking about minorities. So that has been research, very, very lengthy research, and it shows that yes, indeed, it is more and more complicated. You're absolutely right in the sense that in the 90s, it was all of you that were running in our large positions and changed. The dynamics of the political system have changed. The amount of money needed to run a campaign, competitive campaign, have changed. And also very important, as you said, the electorate has changed. Now Hispanics or Latinos represent around 44-45% of the city population. Latinos, we have 1 Latino member in city council, and obviously that does not reflect, the demographics of the city. You have 2 things here, which I consider very important. One is going to be substantive representation, and substantive representation means whoever is representing a community, if that elected representative is doing a good job in representing their constituencies, needs, wants, and preferences, regardless of race, color, religion, background, etc., etc., etc. And then we have descriptive representation, and descriptive representation is the theory that elected members, have to reflect the members of a particular community, right? In the sense that if we have 45% population that is Latino and 12% that is African American, that should be the composition in this case of city council. So those two theories are extremely important because you need a balance between descriptive representation, but more importantly, of substantive representation. Because substantive representation means that the things are getting done in terms of public policy issues that matter to the people. Other cities like Austin, San Antonio, El Paso, Dallas, Fort Worth, etc., 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 and around the country have moved from our large districts to single member districts. Single member districts perhaps allow members to be more responsive to the needs of a particular constituency than our large cities. But on the other, that are large districts. But on the other hand, what you mentioned that is very important, you need people to vote. And the issue here is that, yes, Latino electoral participation has been increasing steadily since the 1990s, right? Every time Latinos tend to participate at a higher rate and higher rates and higher rates and higher rates. They're not to the par of African Americans, non Hispanic whites, and are comparable to Asian Americans. But it's a two-way street. You can have single member districts, but not people voting, then single member districts don't work. And you can have a lot of people voting, but still having our large districts. So I think it's a good combination to entice people to participate when they're going to see that their candidate of their choice can be elected to a position in government. So it's a delicate issue. It's an issue that talks about political participation equity. But again, in order to have equity, you need both sides of the equation to be ready to make some changes and some compromises.
You know, one of the arguments that I've always made, Professor, is that as a constituent and as a taxpayer, I actually have 7 representatives on the City Council of Houston. I have my district council member. I live in District C in Houston. But I also have 5 at-large members that I can pick up the phone and talk to them. And then I have the mayor who also represents me on the city council. So on a particular issue, if I can convince my district member, 5 at-large, and the mayor, I almost, get the ball across the finish line. If we go to single member districts, I only have an opportunity to convince my district council member and maybe the mayor. So it puts me at a disadvantage if I'm well organized, I have an issue I'm passionate about, convince the community. I lose that sort of representation. Any thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, yes, the way that you point is very interesting, and I would tend to agree. However, the issue here is to decide if members, right, in this our large district that would be the whole city, especially members of the minority, in this case, if Latinos, right, or African Americans or any other minority, are able to elect the candidate of their choice, or if it's this part of the electoral design, right, the way that these districts are designed, which is, the whole city overall, that would not allow people to have their chances of electing the representative. It's a matter of the Voting Rights Act. It's a matter that my vote should allow me to elect the people or the person that I want to elect as much as my neighbor. So that is a question, and that is the real importance about these lawsuits. If individuals are allowed, in this case Latinos, if Latinos are allowed to elect the individual that they would want to elect, and if that is not the case, then changes have to be made.
Let me also point out one thing because I want your comment on it, and then I'm going to let Andrea ask you a couple of questions. You mentioned how expensive campaigns are and the resources necessary and trying to build, sort of support in the community in the size of a city like Houston. And I agree with you. Economic assistance, because we rely on donations, is very important. Historically, Professor, if you take any city council member or mayor and look at the ethics filings at the city secretary or even in the ethics commission of the state of Texas, you'll see that almost 95, 97% of the large contributions made to candidates in the state of Texas and in the city of Houston and Harris County are not Hispanics. Now, here's the problem with that. Hispanics can't complain that, we don't have enough Hispanic representatives when Hispanic business people aren't participating at the same level that other business people are in terms of campaign contributions. You've got to step up to have a voice. In politics, we've always said money is what, it greases the wheel. It keeps the wheels of government turning, and it's very important. Now, I want to say this, however, that the problems run deeper than that. I think if you look at the Greater Houston Partnership members, let's take the top 100 companies. I think there is woeful underrepresentation by Latinos in board of directors in corporations in the city of Houston. Yet you'll have the Houston Chronicle, a Hearst publication, and again, they wrote an article the other day talking about the lawsuit about Hispanics aren't represented in the city of Houston. But at the Houston Chronicle, the editorial board has had 3 opportunities to endorse Latinos for mayor. Gracie Sines, an attorney, qualified, former city councilwoman, was not endorsed. Orlando Sanchez ran, former city councilman, I think qualified. I was not endorsed. Adrian Garcia, a former police officer, served on the city council, ran for mayor, not endorsed. I ran for city controller last time, great economic background, former treasurer, 12 years experience running the finances of the county, not endorsed. The Houston Chronicle does not really support a lot of Hispanics for municipal office. So we have challenges. We don't have enough candidates filing. We don't have enough people voting. We don't have any participation at the board of directors in the largest corporations of the city of Houston. And our only newspaper, the editorial board, doesn't support Latinos.
And the only TV
and the only TV stations
and the only 2 TV stations
don't cover politics.
They don't cover politics.
I mean,
so
we've got some challenges, don't we, Professor?
We were just talking about that off the air because
but he's a political scientist.
Of course,
are those important components in the political process?
Absolutely, 100%. And the issue here is that, it's all about political socialization, right? It's about, business owners and the business community to be one way or the other politically socialized. And that doesn't mean that they're going to support one party or the other. Doesn't necessarily means that. It's understanding how the American political system works, right? Campaigns are not funded by the government, as many other countries are. Campaigns are funded privately by PACs, super PACs, and individual contributions. So it is important to have that. A lot of Hispanic business owners may not have, right, one way or the other, because perhaps their majority are small business owners, do not have perhaps the amount of capital needed to make significant political contributions, or do not have significant networks as, for example, political candidates from other demographics may have. So it's about starting to build a network that would allow, right, Latinos to be competitive in terms of how to participate in the American political system, in the electoral system, whether it's a district election, municipal election, city election, statewide election, so on and so forth. You have the example of Tony Sanchez, right? When he was running for governor, a lot of money. He was the second most expensive campaign in the whole state of Texas after this cycle. So again, it's a matter of socializing individuals. The media plays a very important role in socializing individuals in terms of explaining what are the issues. Your show plays a very important role. The role that TLC does plays a very important role, whether people agree or do not agree with the political orientation or not. That's not important. The importance here is that people need to participate. And how you make people participate? Well, explaining the issues, why it's important their participation, how government affects their daily lives is super important. And obviously, if they want to accomplish anything through the government, they need to elect the right representative that is going to fight for them in the political process. So it's a lot of issues, it's a lot of components, but these components, as you said, need to start working a tandem so they can create at the end a equal footing for people to participate and elect the people that they want to be elected.
Very interesting to me, Andrea, is how different the city is compared to the county. Now we have 3 Hispanics,
Yeah.
elected in a 5-member commissioner position. They're Latinos. One's an immigrant.
But it's going to be interesting seeing what is going to be the results in 2023 on the city council campaigns, because we're seeing at the end of the year, I saw a couple of Latinos signing to run for city council.
Ivan Sanchez is
Ivan
just
Sánchez es
Ivan
uno de
has
ellos,
just
colombiano.
announced, colombiano, Democrat. He's been friends with Ivan for a long, long time. Obviously, I'm trying to persuade Ivan to switch to the other side. But
To see the light on
see the light. He's still a young man and idealistic. He really hasn't paid a lot of taxes yet, but he'll come around. But no, but we support him. I mean, he's asked me several times whether I thought he should run. I've always encouraged Ivan, and I hope I hope Andrea's correct. I hope we have more Latinos running, but my sense is that you agreed with my position that we need a lot of work in the Latino community in terms of the business, corporate, executive table. We need more board of directors. We need more decision makers at Metro, at HISD, at the city of Houston. We need more candidates. We need more participation. And for God's sake, if anybody from Telemundo and Univision is watching, start educating the public.
We need more education, and I think that's the key. And we were talking off the air with Jeronimo and us. The key is education, and we go back 20 years when I was in television, and we were sitting on one of the presidential elections, and Jeronimo was saying, like, we were sitting and talking about this for 7-8 minutes, and in television, 1 second is a lot in television. So these days, they don't give time to politics. They don't cover right, and the reporters these days, they don't educate themselves.
Yeah.
And that's another issue that I'm seeing being on television. I mean, I've been in this career for 25 years, and I don't know if you agree with me, Jeronimo, but the reporters that we see these days is not the reporters that we used to see 20 years ago, that they were doing their homework. And I don't know if internet or social media has a lot to do with that. But these days, you seeing them, flipping and dancing in TikTok. I mean, please, I want to see them read. I want to see them talking about the real issues. And people are failing for that.
Yeah, and before you make a comment, because I don't know that was a question, but I can tell you, Professor, when I was a city councilman, she's absolutely correct. Both of you are. Every station had a political reporter. Channel 13 had a man named Don Cobos, who for years covered nothing but politics, and especially Houston politics. If it was political in the county and the city, Don Cobos was on Channel 13. Doug Miller at the Rice University now covered all of politics for KHOU, Channel 11, the CBS affiliate. These two people, and then Channel 2 was, what was his name? He used to be the crime scene reporter, Phil
Archer.
Phil Archer. And
not anymore.
And the African American reporter, she works for Mayor Turner now. These were the political reporters. The only station that still has a political reporter is Channel 26 with Grugan. Greg Grugan knows political issues in and out. Greg follows the politics.
And I will give credit to Channel 11 that they did good job during the midterm election. I will give them credit.
Yeah, and but here's my comment. We're talking about the role that newspapers, the media, the corporate board of directors, but also now, Professor, the University of Houston. We have the Hobby Center. What do you know? What's the Hobby Center doing to reach out to Hispanics and try to bring them in? Because I think the University of Houston is doing some great things. I mean, in medicine, we're focusing now, we have a medical school that's focusing on urban healthcare, which is absolutely essential. But I think the Hobby Center could play a role in this problem. I mean, Houston has a problem. We have 45%, almost half of the population is Latino, and no political participation in the city. What can the Hobby Center do, or what do you know the Hobby Center is doing to help?
Okay, well, I mean, I don't know about the hobby school. What I know is that they are 100% committed with these type of getting people to participate more. I'm 100% understand that there are, their commitment to the city, to the region, to the state, as well as that of the university. But I don't talk about on the behalf of the university or anything like that.
Mhm.
But what I know, for example, in my case, professionally speaking, in the classroom, is try to explain young students why it's important that they participate. And in every class that I teach, I try to inculcate why the policy issue that we might be discussing is important, why Texas government is important, how the structure of the Texas government or the city or the county is important, and how it affects their lives. I think that when we bring something that is completely, foreign to us, right, and land it in very clear examples, I think that those are the important issues, and that's when people have this aha moment that they say, "Oh, okay, then it's important that I start paying attention." And nowadays we live in an era of we are 24 news cycles, social media, 24/7 being bombarded. But sometimes we don't grasp the amount of information that it's out there. And
Hmm.
it's important to try to go to sources that are going to allow us to make our own decision. And the importance here is, just explain to students, explain to young people or whoever it is, right, that is paying attention. This is why it's so important for you to vote. Period. We don't care if you vote this side or the other side. That's not important. The important is that you use your right as a citizen and go out and vote. And that's
You vote.
why, for example, that's my commitment to my students every single day, because I think it's extremely important that they participate. And again, I don't care how they vote. I could
Yeah.
care less about that. What I want them is, yes, I participated.
Professor, I want to switch gears on you and talk about. I'm going to state my position, okay, my opinion, because everybody knows that the O in my name is really for opinion, not for Orlando. We all have to. It doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on, whether you're Republican, Democrat, Independent. I think we can all agree that the immigration system in this country is broken. It's broken at every level. It's broken at the adjudication level. If you want to make an asylum claim, you have to wait years for a hearing. If you want to apply for a work visa in the embassy in San Salvador, you can't even get in. The lottery system is broken. The border patrol system is broken. It's a catch and release system. Basically, if you pay the cartels or if you organize with an NGO, you can cross the border. When you get to the border, you have the local Catholic Church, that's trying to help, but then you have communities that are overwhelmed. Here's my issue. We all agree that the United States immigration system is a disaster and broken. Both parties are to blame. I'm not going to blame. I can blame Biden because he's currently the chief executive officer. But I could have also blamed George W. Bush. I could have blamed even Trump, as much as they touted they did a lot of stuff. It wasn't fixed. The immigration system has become a joke. Here's the problem as I see it, Professor. Are we creating, in my opinion, the answer is yes. Are we creating a permanent underclass in this country where the majority of the people hear the name Orlando Sanchez or Cortina or Gomez and think, oh, they're Hispanic illegal immigrants? That's a mentality. We have to realize that the majority looks at us as illegals. We're not. And further than that, they don't look at us as me as a former politician, you as a tenured professor at a university, she as a respected journalist. They look at us as service people. Oh, yeah, we probably work at the Marriott. Or is that a problem? Are we creating a permanent underclass in this country?
Well, I think that it's a problem of how the immigration debate has been uh, not debated over the past 2 or 3 decades, right? Um, since our founding, since the 1800s, we have had this problem, right? And this problem is in immigrants as people that are not part of us. But then on the other hand, we have, pulling, and then this other hand pushing, is that we are a country of immigrants. So we have a tension right there between immigration, our founding principles. So that's something that is, it's a very emotional issue. Politically speaking, it works for both sides of the aisle. On the one hand, for Republicans, it works very well because look at this, we are being invaded. And for the Democrats, it works very well. It's like, look at this other side. They don't have any respect for human rights. So the status quo predicts or gives both political parties, right, something that they're gaining one way or the other, a political benefit. I completely agree with you that our immigration system is 1000% broken, right? But that system is not going to be fixed in any shape or form until we sit down at the table and discuss this as a policy issue, not as a political issue. I know that I'm asking too much, but the only way to fix it is to sit down and talk about it as a policy issue. Now, when you look, for example, at Latino purchasing power, right, the amount of money that Latinos have to spend into the economy, Latinos, we have the size of, perhaps the Canadian or the Mexican economy. It's a lot of money. We're talking about billions and billions and billions of dollars. So immigration, it's needed in the country. That's it. That's not a question. That's a fact. You ask any owner, any business owner, they're going to say, I need workers, period. Immigration is seen as you say, people that perhaps does not have enough skills, right? But I ask, does building a house, is that not a skill? It's a different skill. I don't have that skill. I cannot frame a house in 48 hours without killing myself or killing someone else, right? I cannot perform some of the jobs that they do, right? Because I do not have those skills. So immigration is different grades and different gradation of skills. And the moment that we sit down and start talking about these things and say, well, yes, we need more people to come here because we need more jobs, because we want our economy to keep moving forward. Our younger generations, they don't want to be farmers. They don't want to be construction workers. They want to be influencers or investment bankers or something like that. But we still need that labor in the labor market, and it's very, 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 very important. So the problem in Washington is that this still becomes a political issue. And the moment that it stops that, like when we had in 2006 with the Gang of Eight, right? People, they say, okay, we're going to try to fix it. Where did it go? Boom, it was killed in a maneuver in the U.S. Senate, right? But we need to discuss that, and we don't need to aim at comprehensive immigration reform, because there's not going to be a comprehensive immigration reform because no one is going to be happy.
Yeah.
We need to go piece by piece and start fixing, for example, all the backlog that exists in immigration courts. What do they need? Well, more judges, more courts, more personnel, right? More fluidity to the system, especially because we are a country of laws and we are breaking our own laws. We're breaking our own asylum laws. So we need to give these people due process. Well, you're applying for asylum or as a refugee. Okay, let me see your case. You do qualify. Welcome. I'm sorry, you do not qualify. Goodbye. Right? But it's the due process. And we are breaking our own principles, our own values that give people due process and give them a chance.
Wholeheartedly agree. Well said. And
I think the call to action today is education.
Yep.
We just need
Absolutely.
to educate our community, and we need to do our own homework and educate ourselves. Because as you said, and we always repeat it in this show, local politicals are the one that impact our daily life, our family, our job, of everything. So definitely every year is a big challenge with our community. But I mean, we're just putting our, ¿cómo se dice granito de arena en inglés?
Grain of
Little
salt.
grain of salt.
Yeah.
Profesor, te vamos a empezar a nombrar el profesor de la comunidad. You know,
The TLC
the
professor.
professor of the community.
No.
Es que no me metan en problemas, no me metan en
No,
problemas.
pero de verdad te lo agradecemos mucho porque sabemos que estás bien ocupado, vas a empezar un semestre nuevo, me imagino que tú sabes, como dices tú, haciendo research y siempre has sido muy amable y nos has dedicado horas participando en este programa que yo creo que es importante. Mucha gente no en vivo, pero después van al YouTube channel o sacan información del programa, así que te lo agradecemos mucho. We're very grateful to Professor Cortina at the University of Houston, who's very busy. He's got a semester coming up. He's got to teach a lot of students. He's probably doing research, writing a book, but he's always been kind and generous and given us hours of his time to talk about and explain to us the important issues facing the city of Houston. So we thank you. We're fortunate to have you. Feliz Año Nuevo. Que Dios te bendiga. Nos vemos pronto.
Nos vemos pronto.
Igualmente. Thank you very much for having me.
Jeronimo, gracias.
Bye-bye.
And talking
Gracias.
about education, Orlando, which is we know that is a key. So we have our Leadership Latino coming up at the end of January, and we have a video of a testimonial of one of our former student that she is having now an important position. So let's watch the video, and then we tell you about the information our coming Leadership Latino class.
So I took the Leadership Latino class in Harlingen, and since then it's been a blessing in disguise. It's helped me tremendously, and as you all know, I mean, I'm now the Republican National Hispanic Assembly of Texas chairwoman, and through y'all's training, I wouldn't be where I'm at. Like, we're fighting for conservative Latinos, and I mean, it isn't just me. It's a lot of others behind me that have done the work and are doing an amazing job. I mean, we have Mayra, we have Michelle Gamboa, we have Joel Castro, and actually I know all three of them, and the fact that I know all three of them is just amazing, and the fact that we all took the class is just another reason why I'm so grateful. But I also recommend people to take y'all's class, especially if they feel like they're not being heard, their voice is not being heard. Take this class and you will learn how to make your voice heard.
Wow.
Well, we have a hell of a production team.
Thank you.
Oh, you did that.
I did that.
She actually was working through the holidays.
Well, yeah. I record that video when we did the Buster. And so I did that interview, and then I edited the video.
Well, good job. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That was very nice, and maybe we'll promote that via Facebook and
yeah,
some
we
other
will.
channels.
We will. But I want to let you guys
And we want to
know.
congratulate Chelsea, who's become the chairwoman of the Republican National Hispanic of Texas.
Of
in
course.
Texas. We met her in McAllen or Brownsville years ago. So some of our seeds don't blossom immediately. Sometimes they take a couple of years.
Of course, and I want to let you guys know that this coming January 27 and 28, we're having Leadership Latino class here in Houston. So check it out of the information. Apply for our campaign bootcamp. So this class is dedicated only to the people that are seriously want to run for office. Seriously want to run for office. If you really want to run for office and you want to get training, and we know the training are very expensive, but here in TLC and Texas Latino Conservatory under Leadership Latino is at no cost. And look at this. Travel and accommodation are completely free. Space is limited, so you need to register. And this is the pictures of the people that is going to give you the training, the years of... Some of them, yeah. But they're experts, years of experience. You're really going to get the best in this class. It's amazing how people are being in this class, and look at them now, like Mayra Flores, like Michelle Gamboa, like Joel Castro, and now Chelsea. So definitely it's something that you need to consider it. It doesn't matter where you at in the state of Texas, because we're gonna cover the hotel, and we're gonna cover up to $200. That's very important to know. Up to $200 on transportation, whether you want to take a plane or whether you want to take a car, or
Cars, planes, and trains.
yeah, whatever you, well, I don't know about train, but whatever you want to come to Houston. And Houston is, pretty much very close to all the main cities, or all the cities.
Don't tell our friends in El Paso that.
Well, yeah, that's the only one. But you know what? It's not expensive to fly from El Paso to Houston. But the most important thing is, what are you going to get out of this? So if you want to come to this class, only if you are serious thinking that you want to run for office. This boot camp is specifically for that.
Also, I will tell you that oftentimes we have some of our elected officials. We've had Dan Corrales, who was elected city council member in Midland, Texas.
Yeah.
We have had Michelle Gamboa. We've had Mayra Flores. We've had John Lujan come back and teach the course.
Yeah.
I mean, not the whole course, but they'll talk to you about their experience as a candidate. And so we're hoping that perhaps we may have Mano DeAyala, or we may have a former state representative. So you're actually not only hearing from us, but you're hearing from those that have recently been graduates of TLC.
And I want to ask you something, Orlando, because, it's very important, this class, because I guess in your time you didn't have that opportunity. Nobody teach you that. Nobody trained you.
I wrote the book.
Okay. But no, what I'm saying is, we wish that we have, or politicians, they wish that they had something like TLC or Leadership Latino helping them to navigate that.
Yeah. And there's a lot of young people that don't know if it's for them, don't know how to do it, may have some questions. How do I get started? That's the biggest question. How do I get started? And, we answer all that. How do I design a web page? Do I have to file with the Ethics Commission, or do I file with the district clerk, or do I file with the city secretary my finance expenditure reports? How do I fundraise? How do I create an ad? Should I buy ads on Facebook or on YouTube or on Google? Do I do terrestrial advertising or digital advertising? How do I produce a TV commercial? All of that. Even how to dress, how to talk to the media. We will tell you what you should be doing. These are suggestions based on our experience. In my case, 30 plus years of political experience, but you're going to hear from others. Dennis Calabrese has been a consultant in the political business, 30, 35 years. I don't think he's that old, but anyway. So you're going to, and Annette Edmonds, I knew her as Annette Seidel. I did her degree plan at the University of Houston.
Oh, really?
Annette graduated from the University of Houston with a degree plan, for a degree in political science, because I did that. If she's watching, she's going to tell you all about it. But Annette Edmonds, who is our compliance officer, all things ethics, will be there to explain to you. And these people are resources once you file for office. If you have questions, you call us. We're there to help you. And so we hope that you'll sign up. Again, as Andrea said, free of charge, but we expect you to show up, participate.
So you just need to register. So go to leadershiplatino.com or go to texaslatiноconservatives.com. Either way, we have a specific website for Leadership Latino, but also you can go to Texas Latino Conservatives and you're going to find the link to Leadership Latino.
By the way, we're way over time, and Mojo Media is going to charge us overtime. But let me just say one thing. None of what you see, this program, the studio, Leadership Latino, all the things that we do would be possible without the generosity of our donors.
Yeah.
Every penny that we expend is because a generous Texan has decided to invest in TLC to get the word out, to develop the future conservative leaders of the Hispanic community in the state of Texas. We're grateful to our donors. We encourage you, if you haven't made a donation, to go to TLC, our website, TexasLatinoConservatives.com, hit the donate button. I don't care if it's $5 or $50,000. We appreciate every contribution. We appreciate every donor. I think we're going to have a great 2023, and we're going to continue the fight. Y nos vamos a mover adelante.
Así es. Nos vemos el próximo miércoles. See you next Wednesday. Thank you so much and a happy new year.